This is the third part of our section 7.4 notes for today. We have a second problem involving percentages and mixture here. It says we're going to combine two types of fertilizer to create 120 pounds of fertilizer that's a 15% combination mixture. We have green lawn type and yellow lawn type from Menards of 20% and 5% respectively. So we're going to pick some interesting variables here, as you can probably guess. We're going to put G for green fertilizer amount. Remember, this is an amount idea. And Y equals the amount of yellow fertilizer. Always pick variables that apply to your problem. Just like before, we have two equations, a percent equation and a quantity equation. The quantity equation is the easier one. That's G plus L equals 120. Imagine getting so many bags of G and so many bags of L, or so many bags of Y, and you combine them together and they combine to make 120 pounds. When you mix these all up totally, you're going to get a 15% mixture. Now, the percent equation, we take the percent of green, which is 20, a lot like the quarter idea, and 5% of yellow, and that equals 15% times our total, which you remember from above is 120. Now I'm going to multiply 120 times 15%, and that equals 18. So I'm just going to make a little note down there, remembering that this second equation really equals 18. Now I need to try to drop out my decimals by multiplying by 100. That gives me 20G. 5Y equals 1800. Remembering that you're going to multiply the 18 also by the 100. Now I'm going to drop out my Y's. When I compare to G and Y, 20G and 5Y, I'm choosing the Y's to drop out. And so for elimination, I want to have the opposite of a positive 5. So I would like this to be a negative 5. So I'm going to multiply by negative 5, giving me negative 5G, negative 5Y, and 120 times negative 5 is negative 600. And now I'm going to add up these two equations. That leaves me with 15G and 1200. I'm going to divide both sides by 15. When I divide 1200 by 15, I get 80. So that's 80 pounds. So green amount is 80 pounds. To get the other value, it's very easy. We're going to take our numbers, G plus Y equals 120, and we're going to insert the value of 80 in for G. So 80 plus Y equals 120. I subtract 80 from both sides. You can do this in your heads. Y equals 40. So there are 40 pounds of yellow. And there's our two answers written out in sentences or in phrases. We should probably check this to make sure we have the correct answer. And so since I used problem in equation 1 to solve it with, I'm going to use equation 2 to check it with. 0.20 times 80 plus 0.05 times 40 should equal 18. Well, let's check that. 0.20 times 80 is 16. 0.05 times 40 is 2. And sure enough, 16 plus 2 equals 18. So we've solved this problem. Our last problem for this section is example 6. And once again, it's a break-even problem. So this is another chance to practice our break-even. As we scan through the problem, we're going to try to pick out the important information. We have startup costs are $14.10. We're charging $32.50 per portrait, and our expenses are $2.50 per portrait. So it looks like I just have one variable once again here, and we're making portraits, so I'm going to say let P equal the number of portraits that we sketch. For income, to make money, we charge, once again, if you remember, $32.50 per portrait, and our expenses are $2.50 per portrait, but don't forget about the startup costs that you have for a variety of different things. So here's our large two equations. Well, break even once again happens when expenses equal our income. So we have 3250, our income, equaling 250p plus 1410. I'm going to subtract 250 from both sides. That's going to give me 30p equals 1410, and I'm going to divide both sides by 30 to try to find the value of p. So I take 1410 and I divide it by 30, and that looks like p equals 47. So now remember, you need to answer with a full sentence, and so you'd say 47 portraits. This kind of concludes our 6 different examples for this section. I hope this has been helpful.